Have you ever wondered what the licensure and insurance requirements are to drive a large yacht? Well, you're about to find out. The answer might surprise you. Ultimately, the very short answer to that question is there is no U.S. federal requirement to have a license to drive a yacht that you are using for your own personal enjoyment or recreation. Every state has some different requirements for driving boats, specifically powerboats or sailboats of certain lengths and sizes, but that is required for almost any powerboat or sailboat of a certain length and size. For instance, here in Florida, if you are born after 1988 and you are driving a boat with more than 10 horsepower, you must have a safety license. California and Texas have some specific requirements, I'm sure, as do many other states. But I think it's surprising to a lot of people. They feel like, oh, I'm going to have to go through this big process to become a U.S. Coast Guard captain to drive my own yacht. That's absolutely not the case. Nowhere in the United States, to the best of my knowledge. Over in Europe, there are definitely some requirements. There is a requirement if you have a VHF radio on your boat to have a VHF radio operator's license. That is the one federal requirement that exists. But funny enough, it's really a low bar to entry as far as getting licensed. Now, that being said, there's some smart things you can do, like take a U.S. Coast Guard approved boater's course. Anybody should do that, no matter what year you were born, for a few reasons. One, it's good to just refresh on that knowledge, even if you think you know everything. Two, it is good to give to your insurance company because you get a discount for having a U.S. Coast Guard approved boater safety course. It takes roughly 6 to 8 hours of your life. You can do it all online. It's very easy to do. And that's really the licensure requirement. The long and short of it is, again, if you're not making money, there is none. That is a little scary, right? Most people overlay the motor vehicle requirements of I have to get a driver's license, I have to have insurance, and all these different requirements. All right, now let's get something even a little bit more wild. At least here in Florida, and I assume it's the case in most places because I've heard it from other boaters, there is also no requirement for insurance. Note to everybody on the channel, buy uninsured boaters. You will need it. People will run into your boat because of exactly all the reasons I'm just saying things. Here in Florida, you can have zero boating experience. You can roll up in here. You can rent a pontoon boat and get out on the water after a 15-minute FAM course from the people who are renting you the boat. So we will absolutely, I'm sure, get videos over this boating season of a member of the rental pontoon flotilla losing control of their boat and attempting to hit our boat. We're pretty vigilant about that while we're on the water. All right, so over to insurance. Insurance can be difficult to get for large boats, especially if you've never driven them. What I've heard, the golden rule is if you're jumping more than 15 feet in vessel size, you're going to have trouble. I don't know how we got around this requirement. We did. Our vessel is length overall of 51 feet. We were able to get insurance without a captain's waiver through an association. That said, after the first year, our insurance rates went sky high, and then we went to get new insurance. When you're purchasing marine insurance, it's also very interesting. It's not like a car where they take a book value and say this is what it's worth. Oftentimes it comes from your survey, or you do and you agree on a whole value. They call it agreed whole value, and that's what the boat is insured for. If you agree with your insurance company without a survey, that's up to them. Most of the time they require a survey, and if you have discrepancies on the survey, they're going to expect that you remedied those discrepancies to get the insurance at the rate they're going to offer. Other things that have to be considered about insurance is your location. If you're in Hurricane Alley, like we are here down in Florida, you're probably going to pay a little bit more. As part of that, oftentimes they require you to get a haul out plan, or they at least require you to have a hurricane mitigation plan. That hurricane mitigation plan could be, I'm going to get in my boat and drive away from the hurricane. Or like we have a haul plan with Two Georges Marina. When we are in the cone of uncertainty, as we call it, we are able to say, hey, I would like to be hauled out. We do pay for that haul out. Our insurance company pays for half of that haul out, obviously to reduce their risk of having to pay out on the boat. Other things you have to think about with boaters insurance is, as I mentioned, it's not required, but you're still financially responsible for whatever you do on the water, to include environmental impact. And that's one of the biggest costs of having a large boat, is the environmental impact of, toting around hundreds of gallons of fuel and oil. If you do happen to sink your boat, you're responsible for that environmental impact. So again, it's not required to have insurance, but it's probably a pretty good idea if you don't want to come out of pocket for some of these liabilities. So the other liability is getting the boat back out of the water if it does sink. That's something that the insurance company takes care of as well. So reasons to have insurance are important, even though the requirements are almost non-existent. So I think it's pretty funny that you can get a boat, you don't of a pretty large size if you can get insurance, and not that it's required. If you can pay for cash for it and you don't have a loan on the boat, and and your bank doesn't require you to have insurance, you can absolutely just go out and take a boat out with no insurance, no matter what the value is, as long as you're only using it for your own personal recreation. But I highly recommend against that. You obviously want insurance to protect yourself from many things, to include the people that buy very inexpensive boats and are not worried about out-of-pocket expenses that may run into your boat. Just a quick recap is ultimately there are no federal requirements for licensure to drive a yacht you are not using for profit or making money on. There's lots of different requirements once you start doing that. There is no requirement for insurance unless it's required by your bank or really your own personal comfort if you own the yacht outright. So getting the insurance is a little more different, a little difficult. They will probably want a survey. If you're getting new insurance and the survey is old, they will probably want a new survey before they agree on that whole value of the boat. And then, but that's really all there is to it. Highly recommend you get insurance, even if they require you to get a captain's waiver. Captain's waiver, if you haven't watched any of their videos, means it's they will insure you, but you will operate the boat with a captain for a certain amount of time. So that's nothing wrong with that, especially if you're jumping straight into a big boat like we advocate. But ultimately, very easy to get out on the water. There's no large process. No federal licensure requirement. Make sure you check your state requirements and then work with your insurance company to figure it all out. But at the end of the day, you can get in a big boat and get out on the water relatively easy. Hopefully this was helpful for you. If it was, please hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell. This was a request for one of my good friends, Pete, and hopefully it was helpful to him as well and everybody else on the channel. We'll see you in the next video.